someone, Kate will be able to pop on. I thought we would just go ahead and begin with introductions. Some of folks on here may be familiar with everyone, some may not. So I wanted to go ahead and give everybody a chance to kind of let us know who you are, you know, what subcommittee or committee you're coming to us from, and what really sparked your interest in participating with Vision Zero. So I will get started. I'm Jennifer. This is my second year on Livability Committee. I was the chair of the Walks and Rolls last year. And I really wanted to be involved in Walks and Rolls. And then when Vision Zero, you know, the Pedestrian Safety Task Force and Vision Zero, when all of that became an opportunity, I really wanted to become involved. I had a personal relationship with someone who was involved in one of the accidents on Main Street. So it's just something that's really close to me. So I will open the floor up to everyone else.
I'll go next. Pat Coleman. I am the vice chair of the Livability Board, and I've been on the board for, I guess, 3 or 4 years now. And I'm on the Walks and Roll Committee with Jennifer, and involved in several other areas in town. But yeah, when the opportunity came to, you know, when Connie and forget who was the other guy that was with you, Connie, that Scott, yeah, when Connie and Scott came to us and was talking about it, it sounded like something that the Walks and Roll Committee would be right up our alley to continue the work of the Pedestrian Safety Task Force. So Leslie, since then, I think has, with the town board, put this committee together so that we can continue what the work that you guys did, and hopefully come up with some good initiatives and answers to prevent any more fatalities from happening. So looking forward to it.
Well, in my picture, I'm right next to Pat, so I'll go. I'm Connie Wessner, and I help chair the Pedestrian Safety Task Force. So I was interested in seeing this through to maybe a little more completion than it felt like we were able to get to with the task force. And I'd already started talking to the Vision Zero folks, and that program just really intrigued me. So I just wanted to stick it out if I could. So that's why I'm here.
I mean, I can go next. Nicole Van Bala. I was on the task force with that Connie led. Have been involved in bike safety for a couple of years. I'm a bike law ambassador, also served on the Bike Walk and See board, and part of the SAFE group, Street Access for Everyone, which we're kind of trying to create safe environment for everybody who uses the road in the Lake Norman area. So then I raised my hand to be on the task force when we started late last year, July. And like Connie, I kind of wanted to see it get more to fruition, the ideas that we put forward, and I'm really excited to help with that.
I'm Charlie Rennell. I was happy to be with the Pedestrian Safety Task Force. I've been in Davidson a long time, and I have seen a lot of changes, and I was appreciative of the town board which passed the Vision Zero statement, and that gave me a lot of hope and optimism, and I'm glad to be included in this extension of that work. Pedestrian safety was an engaging and really wonderful, I think, collegiality from across diverse communities in the Davidson town. And I thought it was a wonderful exercise in civil government. And I think we with you all and the board can create a good spirit about this. It has potential for Vision Zero. That's where should be our aim.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm the newbie of the group. I've the first meeting today, but I've been on the planning board for 2 years. I've just started my third term this year. I've helped out with other initiatives in town, comprehensive plan and things like that before, but I'm brand new to this initiative, so I'm excited to learn more about the work that's been done and see where I can help.
I think we're all brand new, Sarah, so do not even worry about it.
Cool.
And yeah, that's sort of what this meeting is about, just to kind of set the tone on that. I hope that we're gonna be able to take this time to learn about Vision Zero just a little bit today, the mobility plan, as well as a little bit about walks and rolls. And, you know, clearly our ultimate goal will be to, you know, condense sort of all of these, I don't want to say competing priorities, but all these different priorities that we do have into the Vision Zero framework and implement that in Davidson. So yeah, thank you. Doug and Leslie, did you want to take a turn?
Yeah, we can. And we can, you know, if you want to move forward to the next item, because we'll talk and kind of implement who we are in that if you want.
Okay, yeah, so the first thing I think we were going to discuss actually was Leslie and or Doug kind of taking us through the Vision Zero process, or, you know, mobility plan as it stands now.
Yeah, I'll start out just to kind of give you, you know, I know you're aware of why you're all here, but kind of the vision and where the board came to with this was this group. We represent a good variety of the part of Vision Zero. You know, Doug represents project, and he's done a lot with our streets and projects as far as streets and infrastructure with cars. You know, Nicole, extensive background cycling. Pat Coleman walks throughout town. Sarah, with your experience on the planning board and what you guys do there. I know Connie is a long advocate of being a board member, also the Pedestrian Safety Task Force. She walks in town, bikes in town. I see her all the time commuting to school on her bike. So, you know, we represent all the keys, and Charlie walks a lot. He represents, you know, a good history in Davidson and where Davidson has been and where it is now. And so the combination of looking at bringing Pedestrian Safety Task Force and what they just worked on and bringing those recommendations to the table, which a lot of them fall in Vision Zero and things that we can do to help the Vision Zero initiative. And then the walks and rolls with what their goals are, and Jennifer will go over those, again, goes into Vision Zero. And then, you know, the planning board, the things you guys work with, goes into the Vision Zero and the mobility plan. And so that's kind of why we mesh the groups and put them together, because we have knowledges from all the backgrounds there that can help this Vision Zero initiative move forward. And I think it's a great initiative. I know Jennifer sent a lot of links to you, and some of you are more familiar with them than others, but you know, the whole thing of Vision Zero is 0 traffic fatalities or severe injuries while increasing safety and making it healthy and equitable mobility for all. And that's in our community. Something when going through the Vision Zero that I found, you know, they have their new vision for safety, and it's interesting to see kind of what the traditional was to what Vision Zero sees it. And, you know, it's interesting to think of, you know, one of them said perfect human behavior. That's traditional thoughts. Well, no, Vision Zero looks at it as as integrate human failing in approach, because we're human and we make mistakes. And how can we make infrastructure, or if it's speeds, reduce some of those items that when those mistakes are made, they're not tragic mistakes. And so it's just, if you haven't had a chance to really dive into the Vision Zero, really look at it a little bit more. But I think that's kind of what we're here to do in town, is to look at all the mobility structures and work to make it safer for all of us around. So look at that. And I'm going to hand it over to Doug. Doug's going to talk more about mobility plan. And the mobility plan is really key. And looking at that, there's a lot of the mobility plan that talks about the different ways of mobility and the biking, the pedestrian and the motorist, and incorporating that along with the Ped Safety Task Force recommendations into Vision Zero. I think it's going to be great. And you guys will help guide that. And we'll talk about a plan in the next couple of meetings, because we've got to put a Vision Zero plan together. And that's something you all will work to put together. So Doug?
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. I'm Doug Wright. I'm a project manager for the town. I was public works director for the town for 10 years. And worked on the mobility plan. The mobility plan has lived with the planning department for a while. We've had a lot of turnover in transportation planner role, and so I've kind of taken on the mobility plan. And the mobility plan was passed by the town board in June 2019. It includes projects and policies and programs that are recommended. It is a five-year plan, like most of our plans. And so I annually meet with a group called the Mobility Subcommittee, comprised of members of the Planning Board and Livability Board. There are two of y'all here now that have stepped up to serve on that. So I look forward to working with you. And that's Patrick and Sarah are going to be serving on that. And right now we're trying to schedule our first meeting. So in any case, mobility plan is about 250 pages or so, and some of it is cut sheets for projects. But I think one of the things that's going to be important also was able to work with the Pedestrian Safety Task Force, which I enjoyed working with that group. Just trying to manage recommendations that we have from the task force report that you all got, recommendations that are included in our capital improvements plan, things that come from the Vision Zero group, and things that come from the mobility plan, and make sure that there's some coordination between all those groups, so we're not duplicating effort, and that we're all sharing information. So, work hard to make sure that happens, and that these recommendations get carried forward as efficiently as possible. So thank you all. I don't know if there's any questions about that. I'm glad to answer.
Anybody have any questions, comments up to this point, or did anyone get a chance to do your homework over the weekend? I know it was a lot of information. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Leslie. I appreciate that you mentioned trying to take everything and not duplicate it. I think that's a big part of why we're here. As Leslie mentioned, trying to take all of our different backgrounds and your expertise and learn about all these different pieces, and then sort of create that into the holistic Vision Zero plan. So that's what we're looking forward to being able to do. I think over the course of several years, if I'm not mistaken, this process will take some time, but I feel like we're all really passionate about the overall goal. So Connie, I was going to turn it over to you now, if you don't mind giving us a quick update on the Pedestrian Safety Task Force. It sounds like we have a couple members from that group. And hopefully when we meet face-to-face one day, maybe we can give you guys hard copies of that information, because I think Leslie might have printed some. Yeah, so Connie, if you wouldn't mind, just an overview on that group.
Sure. So we are not a group anymore. We were officially disbanded by the town board in December after we made our presentation, or maybe it was January by the time they worked through all the pieces. But I think the things that we walked away with, I mean, that was a unique group in its formation, because it was formed not as part of the overall structure of governance in town, but it was formed as a response to the most recent traffic fatality at that point. But I think also because in 10 years we'd had three deaths. And so we did our work a little bit outside the existing structures, and that gave us a ton of freedom. I think that maybe there's some benefit. What was attractive to us about Vision Zero is, and the Vision Zero task force, is that it also kind of creates us as a group a little bit outside the structure of typical governance. And I think that's important, because I think what we can do as a group more than anything to carry forward what the Pedestrian Safety Task Force undertook is the advocacy role that we were playing, and making sure that, you know, the existing plans that are there, the plans that the revisions in plans that come up as part of the normal course of business, that the notion of pedestrian safety stays central to the conversation, both in terms of the people who are coming to the meetings every week and who are casting votes, but also in terms of the people in the community who there is deep interest broadly in this community in doing something immediately about pedestrian safety and where people think they are. And while this will be a long process to get to some of the longer term goals, there are some things that we could be doing right now that could begin to change the culture that we've evolved to in terms of the experience pedestrians and cyclists have. So the pedestrian safety, I guess, if y'all haven't had a chance to look at it, I would direct you to 2 or 3 specific pages. Let me see if I still have them up or if I got rid of it. I think the first one that's really kind of instructive for this group is, I think it's page, hang on a second.
You want me to pull it up, Connie? I think I have it pulled.
Yes, if you like. It's page 7, which was sort of our group trying to come together around a framework of what were our non-negotiables as we did our work. And that's what that page kind of represents, is our effort to interpret the charge that the town gave us. This is page 5. It says it starts with our charge is the top of it. It's pretty early on. Oh, I'm sorry, page 7. For me, it's showing up as page 5. There you go.
There it is.
So that's something that we drafted early on in our deliberations to try to give ourselves a framework for weighing how we wanted to evaluate everything that came after that, in terms of organizing our report, in terms of organizing our recommendations, in terms of organizing the work of the committee. And so I think that this is something that extends the charge that the town board gave us, and it's probably worth taking a look at. The other piece that I direct your attention to is, I don't know if I'll get the page number right, so I'll give you the section. It's called The Course Ahead. And I think that's on page 13, but I'm not gonna promise you.
Yes, it is.
Okay. The pages that come after that, I think there are 4 pages. The boxes in yellow, those are a reflection of the recommendations that each of our subcommittees pulled essentially and mostly from existing town documents, the mobility plan, the walks and rolls plan, the comprehensive plan. So a lot of what's listed there is not us advancing new ideas or saying, oh, there's a whole new way to articulate this. It was us going through existing plans and saying, hey, we know what we need to do. We've said it a bunch of times. The town board has approved these actions. We need to get on them and start making them happen. So there are a few, newer discussions we had. But again, I think as a group, for us to sort of orient ourselves and think about what does a Vision Zero plan look like, I think if we take that framework and determine whether we can commit to that as part of our Vision Zero plan, and then we take this set of recommendations and try to align them, I think that's a really relevant place to start, because the town board, again, has already accepted and approved this. And I think it was easy for them to, because it wasn't, a lot of it wasn't new material for them. I don't want to go too deep into the report because I don't know. I mean, it's an awful lot to chew off in just a weekend, and I don't know what you all got to be able to do. But I would urge us to at least start with those two pieces when we get back together, as a way of organizing our work and thinking through where do we need to go from here. Separately, I'll tell you, as a sort of an outgrowth of the Pedestrian Safety Task Force, because of the work we were doing and because of the connections we made, the folks in the State Vision Zero Task Force, Seth Lajeunesse, and I guess mostly Seth, but we've now made a pretty good connection with Angela Berry in Charlotte. She's helps lead up their Vision Zero Task Force. We were in conversation with them through the fall about pedestrian safety in general and about the Vision Zero effort specifically. And so I got invited, along with Scott and Leslie and Doug, to continue to participate in their Vision Zero meetings. So for instance, today, Leslie and I attended the all-state meeting, the quarterly all-state meeting. And they're, I think, a really good source for us to be involved with, and that we need to continue to commit to meeting with, because there were two really good presentations today. One was a presentation that Leslie referenced about mitigating speeds and what kind of the current research is on that, managing speed. But that got followed by a conversation with the state traffic engineer. And people asking him in that group, asking him some pretty tough questions about, okay, so help us crack the code on how we get you to agree to let us lower speed limits. And it was a really good conversation. And I think that that kind of networking is a unique opportunity for us, again, as advocates for the town of Davidson, to maybe get us moved off the dime on some of those projects that would have traditionally gotten stuck waiting for approvals at the state level, waiting for approvals from our regional engineers. Because we've asserted ourselves and become part of this Vision Zero Task Force, because the governor has a program that he's championing on it, and because we are now talking directly to those people, we should be in a much better position as a town to say, well, let us be a case study. Let us help you with that. Let us, you wouldn't typically lower the street speed here. Here's what we would propose you do instead. So I think that's another aspect that as a task force, a local task force, we have access to and we can work on in a way that maybe has not been a lever the town could press in the past. I don't know if that's, Jennifer, what you wanted me to do, but those seem like the key things.
Yeah, I think so. And Connie, you kind of segued. I'm going to skip ahead in the agenda a little bit. You segued, you were talking about meeting with the Vision Zero folks and Angela Berry. So I know on March 3rd, there's going to be a conversation that the Vision Zero folks, I guess at the national level, as well as the Charlotte Vision Zero folks are holding, I guess, sort of a panel discussion where we're sort of able to come and listen and just, kind of learn and ask questions about what Vision Zero is and the process, and, hopefully just, educate ourselves and learn as much as we can in terms of taking away information and trying to implement it here. So I know that's happening on March 3rd. I believe it's at 9:00 and it's in Charlotte. Leslie, what is the location for that? I know it's at a hotel.
At the Holiday Inn City Center.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be there myself. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to learn, as much as possible. If anyone is interested, please let me know.
Is it AM or PM?
In the morning, so 9 a.m. Yeah, March 3rd. I think it's an hour-long session. Really, just a chance for us to listen in. So if anyone's interested in joining, I think it would be an awesome opportunity for us to get to, as Connie said, just, learn more and stay connected, and, network and get Davidson out there, I think is an important part of this as well. So anybody questions for Connie about, yep, Doug.
I just wanted to mention, it would be best if we had a police or enforcement role in this group, and I think we were working on that with our police department. We did with Pedestrian Safety Task Force, and we do with all of our mobility question. We talk about changing the speed limits everywhere in town. The police have a big role in that, so we hope to have police participation in this group and effort as well. Just want to mention that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, and something we talked about in Livability Board was that I guess the town applied for a grant for an additional police officer specifically for pedestrian and cycling safety enforcement. Is that right? Hopefully for maybe this summer. Am I getting that right?
I don't know about that. If it's right,
Okay.
it's not something Leslie may know about it.
Yeah, what it is they applied for a grant, and I think they're supposed to find out, and I want to say they were talking about it being it's still October, because it'd be the next fiscal year. They'd find out October, so it'd be a half-year position, and what that person would be is they would oversee, they'd be like the connection and the Vision Zero representative, and they would work on that initiative from the police department, as well as in our department, we do a lot of bike safety, and we often have police officers come out for that. They would be our contact. So we would have the same contact every year, whereas now that kind of changes because they try to give other people opportunities. So it'd be one person that would be, and so they would be the person that would go out on Main Street and educate people walking across the street, jaywalking, and just be that person year round. So hopefully they get it. They did, the application was due, I think a week or two ago. So they did get it in. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a position that we're able to acquire.
Leslie, who did they do the grant with? Who did they submit the grant to?
You had to ask. I can find out.
So Penny? It's
yeah.
a grant from the police department. Okay.
Yeah.
And isn't
law enforcement.
The Vision Zero folks, they're going to do that presentation on the 3rd in Charlotte, but aren't they presenting to our town board on the 4th and 5th during their retreat?
No, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, it's the board retreat.
The board retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
March 3rd at 9 a.m. Yeah.
Did anyone want to consider attending that? I know Nicole.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jennifer, I'll be there.
I just looked at my work calendar. The way it looks for the moment, unless something unexpected happens, I think I can work my meetings around it.
That's great. That's great.
So I can
Leslie,
try
could
to
you
keep
send
that.
out? Oh,
I
that's
can
awesome.
send the information.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we just thought it'd be nice to have some of you come and sit, because we can listen to it, and we're going to be in the same position you guys are, listening to this discussion between the board and Angela and Seth. but there's things that you guys might hear differently than we hear, or because of your experience and your knowledge in certain areas, you might have a different outtake on it. And so it's always good just to have representation, so we have a better discussion post. So.
Just to add to that, Angela and I were talking after the Vision Zero meeting today, and she and I are going to actually just have a friendly coffee on Thursday to chat. So I just think the more often that we can continue to talk with the other groups around us, there's a group in Charlotte, which Angela's a part of, there's a group in Mooresville, and the more that we can talk with those folks at the state level, including Mark Ezel and Seth Lajeunesse, I think that can only help us do some innovative things that otherwise might have taken longer than they need to.
Yeah, thank you for that, Connie. I know, Connie, you also offered to do something really cool, which was the Google Drive.
Yeah, I wanted to ask everyone, so most of the work I do is on an Apple device, but I have access to both a cloud drive and a Google Drive. Is it easiest if I put a shared folder on Google Drive for everybody, or Apple, which is easiest for y'all? I presume it's Google, but.
Google's fine with me.
Okay. I will send that share out either later today or tomorrow, and we can just all build on it from there. We found that was really useful in the Pedestrian Safety Committee, because people, as they found interesting articles, interesting references, they could go in there and drop them in, and that's a way of keeping everybody current with what's going on.
Yeah, I love that idea. Okay, so if there are no more questions for Connie on pedestrian safety, I wanted to touch briefly on walks and rolls. In an email I sent out, I did share our most recent 2021 goals. They were not updated for 2022 because, sort of as the Pedestrian Safety Task Force, walks and rolls is kind of now disbanded, and we've essentially reformed as Vision Zero. So Vision Zero is kind of what was formerly known as walks and rolls. And if you look at that PowerPoint, it's a very short PowerPoint, but the way we structured our yearly goals was in 1 year and 3 year increments. So we had some 1 year goals and we had some 3 year goals. And you'll notice that, you know, all of those, I think, really safely do fit under the scope of Vision Zero. It's pedestrian and bicycle safety activities. A lot of it is about, you know, infrastructure, continuing to, you know, lobby for funding, connectivity, you know, signage. It's really nothing, I think, too far out of the realm of what Vision Zero would be. So I don't see a real problem, you know, continuing with these, you know, with these goals in spirit within Vision Zero. Pat, did you want to add anything? You were on walks and rolls for a long, long time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think most of our goals there fit within what we're going to be doing with this Vision Zero. And I agree with Connie. I think, you know, the Pedestrian Task Force had some great recommendations, and there are some, and, you know, to keep this alive and keep it hot and going, some of their immediate recommendations, I think, you know, something we should look into and see what is there that we could, you know, enact immediately. And maybe Doug and Leslie would know one of the recommendations was eliminating right turns on Main Street there. And I don't know if that involves having to deal with the North Carolina Department of Transportation or what, or is that something as a town that we could do something? But I think, you know, having put that mid street crossing there, and they're going to add, my understanding is, and talking to Jamie today, is that they're going to have flashing lights at that one too once they come in. That's going to help things. But having somebody there, I mean, I think the other thing that we could do immediately would be pedestrian and vehicle safety education, because too much I see. I mean, as a driver in town, I see too many people just walking up to corners and just continuing walking without even looking for whether cars are coming either way. And I think that's a real problem in this town. And the other thing is with cars, people jaywalking still on Main Street there. I mean, they're coming out in between cars, and sometimes it's hard to see them until you're right on top of them. So I think the education aspect of this, I think, would be great. I think the other thing is that if we could do something about the right turns, especially off Concord Road onto Main Street and possibly Chairman Blake onto Main Street, would be helpful. And I don't know, maybe Doug or Leslie would have something to add to that.
Yeah, I can fill you in on that. We just today had 90% plans, which is a submittal to the NCDOT to change the signal timing on all of our three intersections on Main Street. So that's the Main Griffith intersection, Main Concord you mentioned, and Chairman Blake, Main South. So what this design will do is eliminate a situation where a vehicle has a left turn arrow or green light to turn left, and a pedestrian has a walk signal in a conflicting crosswalk. Right. So, I mean, that's a common configuration everywhere, but people report near misses all the time. So we'll be eliminating that. That has some impact on traffic operations, but we have a fairly good NCDOT rep now that actually lives in town and has been a little bit more willing to work with us on these things than they have in the past. So that's part of it. The other thing, we are not eliminating right on red. That's going to be problematic when you'll have cars stacked up past Gray Road with no right on red and nobody in the crosswalk. And my perspective is that our residents won't tolerate that for very long. What we do have is that we'll have a dynamic signage up on the mast arm. So right now, when you pull up there, there's a sign that says vehicles yield to pedestrians, turning vehicles yield to pedestrians. This will be dynamic LED signage so that when somebody comes up and hits the pedestrian button, that will light up no right on red while there's somebody in the crosswalk. So it's a balanced approach. Cars can still make a right on red when somebody's not in the crosswalk. When someone is or has the walk signal, they can't make right on red. They can't do it now anyway, but this is a visual reminder.
Good.
Yeah, so those are the two things that are in process.
Okay. Yeah, is there any talk to the other problem that I see on Main Street is people coming out of Depot, either trying to take a left-hand turn onto Depot or a left-hand turn out of Depot and onto Main Street. And that's another, because you've got the two crosswalks there from the college, and that it seems to be another area where I've seen some near misses right there.
There's nothing planned. That's not the intersections that I'm talking about. The three that I just mentioned are signalized intersections.
Right.
So that's not a signalized intersection. So those changes are not happening there because there's no traffic signal. So there's nothing.
You could make Depot a one-way street. Be nice.
Or eliminate one parking space up at that corner to open up the sight lines.
I mean,
that's
it's a
the
narrow,
problem.
it's a narrow street as
you can't see.
Yeah, we don't conform downtown to what the NCDOT considers a safe sight line. It sometimes get those, you end up omitting a block of parking or something. I mean, it's just not something. It's another case where there's another interest there, so we have to find a balance. And we in the past we've tended to want more parking. So,
but it's worth talking about. I mean, there's a difference between getting rid of a block of parking and just getting rid of a single space.
Yeah, there just has to be some tangible benefit to that. And, you know, you have to decide what that is. There's a lot of factors there. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I am completely open to talking about it, completely.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that the benefit that we had in the maybe not everybody saw it as a benefit, but the benefit we had in the task force was that we didn't close off conversations. We did some investigations about, well, okay, we haven't ever done that before, but what could that look like? And I you know, as a task force, we weren't charged with going forward with implementation, but it feels like this group, at least in terms of what Vision Zero projects for Vision Zero Task Force, that would actually be a place, this is the place to have those conversations and think a little bit outside the box of what typical practice has been, given the urgency of the matter.
Yeah, and maybe that's something we could do as a group, as was mentioned earlier, is sort of do a walking tour and check out some of these spots. You know, folks may not be familiar, just, you know, brainstorm and just kind of see it with their own eyes and talk about some different options at the various locations. But yeah.
I do agree, Connie, with what you were saying in terms of the task force, because we knew that we had to come up with ideas, still feasible ideas, but just with the idea piece, and less with, okay, we need to find the money to go do this. We were able to, and I call that, if you look at ideas, I call that we were okay to stay at the dreamer side. Like, hey, if we start from a blank piece of paper, what can we do? So no idea was a bad idea. Or no idea was stopped because, well, it's maybe not feasible. So I do think we probably need to keep a little bit of that open. And then, of course, test it off, pressure test it, Doug, like you were saying, like, is this a good option? What are the tangible benefits? And it's a trade-off, right? Every choice is a trade-off. If we don't do it, well, we're giving up on something. But if we make a choice, we're also giving up on something. What is that? And is there a return on investment? And look at it from that angle.
Yeah, I would. I mean, as you work through that, I think the group came up with some really good recommendations. There's some tension between enforcement, jaywalking that was there in the group that I don't, you know, you never really completely resolve these things, but that's another thing we can talk about going forward. Yeah, not everybody supports enforcement of jaywalking. So, and that view is definitely out there as part of the discussion as well. So don't want to let that go either.
Connie or Leslie, maybe, you know, do any of the other Zero Vision Task Force or at a state level, do they have any educational programs for vehicular traffic or pedestrians?
Not really. There aren't a whole lot of towns and cities that are far along on Vision Zero. Charlotte's probably the farthest. Durham got going, but then they kind of, a staff person left and it kind of fizzled a little bit. They're starting to get going again. But everybody's so new at it that, you know, as they come about, and that's what Connie was talking about, these meetings, especially at the state level with the state Vision Zero, they're so interesting because that's where each state kind of gives an update on what they're doing, and right. You know, we can bounce ideas off of each other. So I think more will come, and it's also this Vision Zero community throughout North Carolina is very open to sharing everything, to duplicating everything, for you copying what they're doing. I mean, Angela's told us many times, hey, if you want to just copy and paste stuff from ours, go for it. She goes, that's what I did, and that's what other people told me to do. So I think we will start to see other groups, and we'll start to mirror each other, which is great, because then it's a statewide.
I mean, if somebody has a good idea, there's no sense in recreating the wheel.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can lean on each other to grab ideas. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know more about the, oh, sorry, Doug.
No, go ahead, Jen.
The just the public education piece. I'd like to really know more about how we can successfully sort of implement, I don't know if you want to call it a campaign, or, you know, how we can get citizens more knowledgeable, interested, aware, you know, whatever word you want to use, about all these different issues.
I think we had the beginnings of a really effective campaign in the Pedestrian Safety Task Force that maybe we ought to build from. And that Walk Safe Dave hashtag, there were folks in our group who had marketing experience and outreach experience who did a lot of that legwork and did a lot of thinking about what we could do. I think that's something that, you know, while we go through, and Doug, to your point, everything we do is going to have to be balanced with that sort of, okay, in practice, what can we really get away with? But while we're sorting those things out, and while we're allowing ourselves to have those conversations and maybe try to push the envelope a little bit, I think one thing we could really get focused on quickly is the engagement piece of this for the rest of town. Because a lot, like what Pat's saying, is keeping this in front of people, keeping them thinking about it. People make mistakes. People do dumb things. They cross in the middle of blocks. They go too fast. They don't obey the speed limits. People just make bad decisions. And the more that we can position ourselves to be a group that really champions a constant message about pedestrian safety, and that what we want in this town is a different experience, I think that's something that we could contribute right off the bat.
Yeah, I agree.
We do have to, I mean, I think with Vision Zero also, we're looking at vehicle and bike as well. We had the car turnover out on East Rocky River Road a couple of nights ago. They're, you know, coming into town before you get to Shearer. So that's also the kind of thing I think that falls in the purview of this group, and our bicycle safety as well.
Yeah.
All right, guys, well, it's almost 7. Did anyone have any last thoughts to share? Questions? Anything at all before we kind of talk about our next meeting?
Yeah, just had one thing that we do have the opportunity to do is look at communities outside of North Carolina. There just isn't much here. I mean, I don't know what Chapel Hill has exactly, but when I look for pedestrian improvements, I look at a number of communities across the country that are kind of the leaders for that. Portland and Austin and others are kind of, they have a reputation. So we could look at other small college towns and see across the country. That may give us some more opportunities than just looking here in the state, where I think there's only 15 communities in the state right now. So there's certainly a lot of them out there. And I think maybe our state people may have those contacts as well, where we're looking at, I don't know who else would, maybe Greenville or someone like that, that's similar to us and has similar values.
I can reach out to Rachel and Peter, who actually are the head of bike law nationally, to see if they have some context and where they can direct us to other states. So I will follow up and ask them the question and see what we can get.
Cool. Awesome. All right, guys. So it sounds like Nicole and Connie and Leslie, I will definitely see you guys on the 3rd. Did you want to talk about our next meeting? So what works for everyone? I know we're all from different committees and we have different things going on. Does anyone have any ideas about a regular, scheduling regular meetings? Any kind of preferences?
I mean, this day and slot works well for me, or at least I can make that work most of the time.
By day, do you mean like Mondays?
Mondays, yeah, Mondays.
Okay. Does Monday does Monday typically work? Monday, 6 p.m. for everyone if we continue to do like a Zoom for the
Sure.
time being? Okay.
Actually,
Um,
Monday, except for planning board, we have the end of the month. So the last Monday of the month is our planning board meetings. But other than that, I think that works for me.
Okay, and then the third Tuesday of every month is livability board. So how about we do the second Monday of every month? Does that work for folks? So that would make our next meeting March 14th at 6 o'clock.
And I'm gonna send you guys, I'll send it to Jennifer and she can send it out to all you guys. I'll also send you the minutes. I'll read through them and clean them up a little because a lot of them you might not understand, but I'm gonna send to you all the link to the Charlotte Vision Zero Action Plan and their guiding principles, as well as the state's guide to making a Vision Zero action plan. So you can kind of start thinking of that and seeing the process, because it's a lot longer process than I think Doug and I and anybody else anticipated. When we spoke with Angela about it, her and 2 full-time staff pretty much put their full-time for 6 to 8 months to the process of getting a Vision Zero plan together. And so Mooresville, they just received a CARTPO grant to hire a consultant to help with their Vision Zero plan, because there's a lot of data and stuff. And I know Doug has spoken to somebody in the state kind of their idea, who used to work in Davidson, that is very active in multimodal transportation and knows kind of Vision Zero plans a little bit. Just kind of asked her, and she said that there is a lot of data that has to be put together on the local and state level. So just some things to think about. So I'll send you these to start looking at that and looking at how we want to go about moving forward with the Vision Zero action plan. So yeah.
Cool, thanks, Leslie. And if you guys haven't had a chance, yeah, please continue to review all that information for next time, and we can hopefully start to kind of build our plans from there. So if y'all need anything or have questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out. And thanks, guys, so much. Good to see y'all.
Hey, Charlie, I did send it
Thank you.
before in a link, but we'll send it again.
Okay, thank you, Leslie.
Charlie, I'll
Thanks,
also
everybody.
keep that link in the Google Drive. So if you need to reference it, you can
Yeah,
always
good.
get it.
Okay, that probably
Oh,
covers it.
perfect.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you, Connie.
Thank
Sure.
you
All right,
all.
bye, guys. Have a great night. Bye,
Bye.
y'all.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bless
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.